In 7 days, the impossible will bend before you. Yes, you heard correctly. Not 70 times 7, not 7 months, not 7 years, 7 days. 1 week. And what seems unattainable today could be yours. For there is a secret, not new but eternal, which when understood and lived, not only changes circumstances, it changes man. And by changing man, it changes the world. A secret so simple that the wise ignore it, and so powerful that the humble who apply it become masters of destiny. A secret that doesn't require physical effort, titles, or accumulated merit. It only requires that man dares to take on with conviction what the world still calls impossible. Everything can change, absolutely everything, in just 7 days. Illness can subside, scarcity can evaporate, lost relationships can be reborn, forgotten hope can flourish with double strength, because reality, however solid it may seem, is nothing more than a mirror of your consciousness, and your consciousness is moldable, directable, divine. Most people live chained not by the visible chains of life, but by invisible false ideas, accepted as truth. They are prisoners not of the world, but of the way they see it, and because they ignore this fundamental truth, that imagination is the only reality, that what you feel to be true in your innermost being will eventually become visible in your experience. They live repeating the same dramas, suffering under the same veils, begging for liberation that has already been given to them from the beginning. Just as Genesis tells us that in 7 days God created the heavens, the earth, light, form, and life, so man, the image of the Creator himself, can in 7 days remake his inner world, and as a result, he will see the outer world transformed as if by miracle. Time is obedient, the universe a silent servant, matter a shadow chasing the light of your imagination. 7 days is not an arbitrary deadline. 7 is the sacred number of divine completion, the number of the complete cycle of manifest perfection. When you, with total surrender, decide to sustain a new state of consciousness for 7 days, without wavering, without giving in to appearance, without returning to the old man, in that very movement, you mobilize all the forces of heaven and earth in your favor. The secret is this: remain faithful to what you want to be, as if you already were. Not just for a moment, not just when you imagine with your eyes closed, but throughout the day, when you wake up, when you eat, when you walk, when you go to bed. With every breath reaffirm, I am. Not I will be, because I will be belongs to the world of illusion, to the time that never comes. Say with spiritual authority, I am what I want to be. I already am. And you will see reality, like living clay, mold itself according to your declaration. Never mind the past, no matter how many times you have stumbled. The power that inhabits you is not diminished by your mistakes, because it does not come from your personality, but from your essence. And that essence is divine. You are children of the Most High, endowed with the same capacity to create by the word felt, by the image sustained, by the state assumed with ardent faith. Assume the state now and treasure it for the next 7 days. Everything in you will resist at first. The senses will scream. Old beliefs will try to pull you back. The world will seem to mock your decision. But this is the test of fidelity. Know this: the old world roars louder when it realizes that it is dying. And it does die. It dies under the weight of the new me that you have chosen to be. I will tell you with solemnity and reverence, you don't have to convince God. You have to convince yourself, for God in you is the very power of conviction. When you believe with feeling, with inner certainty, that you already are what you ask for, then the asking ceases, for it already is. And the world, being only a reflection, will only show you what you have assumed to be real. Keep this maxim: what I sustain for 7 days, the world will be forced to sustain before me, not by violence, not by manipulation, but by divine resonance. Don't wait for a sign. The sign will come after faith. Don't look for proof. The proof is your feeling. All you need is the firm decision to live for 7 days with the inner certainty that you are already what you want to be. Don't worry about the how. The how belongs to God. Your role is to assume the end. Your role is to wear the state. Your role is to feel what it would be like if it were already true, and to live in that feeling constantly, lovingly, unshakably. In 7 days, those who walk faithfully in the new state will see the walls of impossibility crumble. They will see doors open where before there were only walls. They will see people emerge, answers come, paths align with almost supernatural precision. There is no luck in this. There is no chance. There is law, divine law, eternal law. And the law is this: whatever you feel to be true in your inner self will be reproduced in your outer world. Say with sacred boldness, for 7 days I am the new, I am the answer, I am the miracle. And hold on to it like an inner fire that won't go out. It doesn't matter what you see outside. What you see is in the past. What matters is what you feel inside. What you feel is the cause. And the cause, kept faithful, becomes form. Always. Live as already being. Walk as already having. Think as already realized. And 7 days later, you will see that he who dares to assume the state of being creates the world according to his inner image. The impossible is just the name we give to what we have not yet dared to assume as true. Dare now, and there will be no limits. The whole of humanity, with rare exceptions, lives trapped in an exhausted dance between wanting and not achieving. The common man, so thirsty for change, walks for decades carrying promises, dreams, prayers. And yet he remains unchanged. He wishes fervently, he waits patiently, he tries earnestly, but he fails. And he fails not for lack of effort, not for lack of merit, but because it is rooted in the wrong place of being. The universal problem is not desire. Everyone desires. Desiring is natural. The problem is that almost no one understands where desire comes from. Man desires from his current state, the state of lack, absence, want, and not from the desired state. And as long as this is the case, desire is just a reminder of distance. For what you call reality does not respond to your wanting. It responds to your being. It's not how much you desire, nor how hard you work that changes the world. It's what you assume to be true about yourself. And herein lies the big mistake. Most people focus on doing in order to obtain, when they should focus on being in order to manifest. The world has taught you to work, to run, to fight, to make lists, to accomplish tasks, to earn merits. But it has never taught you the silent and absolute power of simply assuming the state of already being what you want to be. And for this reason, man lives a lifetime trying to change the effects without ever touching the cause. He lives asking the world to change, begging time to bring it, struggling to deserve it, when all he should be doing is removing himself from his current appearance and silently establishing himself in the desired state, feeling there, dwelling there, walking around already being without waiting for the world to confirm it, without begging for proof. I ask you, how can man receive what he denies with his internal posture? How can the poor man become rich if all his thoughts emanate scarcity? How can the lonely find love if all their emotions vibrate loneliness? How can the sick be cured if every cell of their feelings repeats the illness as their identity? Make no mistake. The universe does not respond to words but to states. And state is something deeper than thought. It is the internal climate of your being. It's the emotional tone in which you live. It is your I am, even when you are silent. He who says, I will be prosperous, declares, without realizing it, that today he is not yet, and perpetuates that condition. He who says, I hope to be loved, reaffirms that he is now lacking in love, and continues to be so. The man who tries to do in order to be is going in circles, but the man who is, even before any sign, will see the world rearrange itself before him, because the world is only a reflection of what you are. And this is the root of the universal failure. Consciousness is still tied to the old state. Desire may be noble, it may be sincere, but if it is felt from the old self, it does not generate life. It's like planting seeds in infertile soil, like trying to light a fire with wet wood. Wishing is not enough. It is necessary to overflow the new state, to live as one who has already achieved it, to move with the scent of fulfillment even when the physical eyes still see nothing. And here lies the subtlest and most decisive challenge, to change your center of identity. No longer think like someone who wants, but feel like someone who already has. No more acting to get there, but acting like someone who is already there. No more fighting to be healed, but living as one who is healed. No more running after the blessing, but walking as one who carries the blessing. The secret lies not in external movement, but in the silent transfer of your inner dwelling. Leave the state of lack and inhabit the state of fullness. Leave the I hope and enter the I am. For as long as you live in the old state, life will only give you recycled versions of the same scenario. This requires courage. It requires faith not in what you see, but in what you feel to be true in silence. Because whatever you feel to be true, even if it is denied by the senses, will become visible over time. Not because the world has decided to be good, but because you have decided to be different. The man who lives trying, wishing, hoping is like the one who looks at the dry land and says, "When the rain comes, I'll plant," while the wise man plants even in the desert because he feels the rain before it comes. And because he feels it, he provokes it by assuming he manifests. By inhabiting the end, he transforms the means. While the common man focuses on doing, the awakened man focuses on being, and that's what separates them. The former exhausts himself trying to change the world. The second changes state, and the world adjusts. Life, my beloved, does not respond to you like an indifferent machine. It responds like a faithful mirror. And this mirror does not reflect what you ask for, but what you assume. It doesn't reflect what you want, but what you are. So stop trying, stop waiting, start being, even if it's inside, even if in silence, even if only for an instant. Because an instant of true assumption is worth more than 1,000 days of action without identity. And once you have firmly established yourself in that new state, that state will be your new world. Now that we have discerned the hidden root of failure, unconscious attachment to the current state, it is time to present the path of true transmutation. Not a symbolic path, not a philosophical consolation, but a practical, powerful, and measurable method that can be lived by any human being who dares to abandon what they are in order to become what they want to be. This is the 7-day method, simple in appearance, profound in essence, invisible to the eye, but irresistible to reality. 7 days, 7 cycles of sustained awareness, 7 steps towards visible manifestation. Not through effort, but through alignment with the immutable laws of consciousness. For everything that manifests has first been assumed to be real. Nothing enters your life without first being accepted, even if unconsciously, as part of your being. This method is not a magic formula. It is a spiritual practice, a re-education of the imagination, a consecration of the mind, a surrender of the old man to the power of the new state. And the promise is clear. Real, measurable transformation in a single week. Not abstract, not theoretical, real. You'll see signs, you'll feel shifts, you will witness changes in the quality of your experiences. For the world does not resist the man who aligns himself with the truth of his being. The condition, however, is absolute, unbreakable, unbreakable. From day one, in fact, from the very first moment, you must live as someone who is already what they want to be. This is the seed of the method. It's not enough to visualize, it's not enough to affirm. You must live internally as if the desire were already fulfilled. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances change, now here. Now, for 7 days, you will assume a new state of consciousness with such fidelity that the world will be forced to reflect this decision. For the world, as I've already told you, is a shadow, and the shadow has no will of its own. It just follows the form. Change the inner form, and the shadow will obey. This state is not a passing emotion. It's not a whim of enthusiasm. It's an inner dwelling, a continuous choice, an intimate vow of fidelity to your vision. Each day of the week will be a stepping stone, and each step will require of you not physical effort, but emotional courage. The courage to deny appearance and affirm the invisible. The courage to silence the old man and give voice to the new me. The courage to feel the end, even when the middle still screams the opposite. The method begins with a choice, who do I want to be? And it's not about answering with logic, but with the heart. The method demands clarity. There is no room for vague desires. The universe responds with mathematical precision and only delivers what it finds clearly imprinted in your feelings. Once you have chosen your new state, you will never look back. For 7 days, the old self will be ignored, silenced, left to die. And the new me, even if it doesn't yet have a form in the world, will be treated as real, respected as true, honored as already existing. Live the role. Take on the identity. Think, feel, move as someone who already is. Don't say, I hope I make it. Say, I thank you, Father, for you have heard me. That was Jesus' prayer, not a plea, but an affirmation of possession. It is this same prayer that you must repeat with a burning heart. I am. I have. It is done. Each morning when you wake up, you will return to this state like someone putting on a sacred robe. Each night, when you go to bed, you will surrender to unconsciousness the image of your desire already fulfilled. During the day, watch your inner language, your posture, your reactions. Everything must emanate coherence with the new state. For emotional fidelity is the fertile soil of manifestation. The mind, if left unchecked, will revert to the old pattern. But you are not slaves of the mind. You are masters if you so choose, and for 7 days you will be kings within your own inner world. And the kingdom, I assure you, will emerge from outside. This method does not fail. It is the man who abandons the new state and returns to the old garment who fails. But he who holds on, even with trembling, even with occasional doubts, he who refuses to give in and insists on being, he will see the transformation. There is no exception to the law. Manifestation is the natural consequence of remaining in the right state. And this is my call to you. For 7 days, be what you want to be. It doesn't matter what you say to others. What matters is what you feel in your silence. For the universe responds to your hidden feelings, not to your visible appearance. Every time a doubt arises, respond with gentleness and firmness. I am. Every time an old emotion tries to emerge, be compassionate, but don't give in. It's already done. Every time reality seems to resist, smile serenely. The shadow has not yet realized that the form has changed. This is the method. 7 days of alliance with the new me, 7 days of renouncing the old state, 7 days of living, thinking, feeling, and giving thanks as one who has already received. And then the harvest will come. Natural, undeniable, unstoppable, because he who is creates, because he who feels shapes, because he who remains manifests. And all this in 7 days. Everything your eyes behold, everything you call reality, everything that surrounds you, people, circumstances, objects, situations, is nothing more than a reflection of your state of consciousness. The world doesn't happen to you. The world obeys you, not violently, not in a hurry, but with absolute precision. Because life is a mirror, and the mirror never offers its own image. It only returns the image that is presented to it. And this image, this primordial form, this invisible mold that the world copies exactly is called I am. This is the name of God. This is the center of your being. This is the first sound of creation. Before there is any word, any movement, any desire, there is I am. And everything you follow that I am becomes decree. It becomes law. It becomes flesh. If you say internally, even without realizing it, I am confused, the world will conspire to reinforce the confusion. I am sick, and the body will obey. I am lonely, and the affections will withdraw. I am limited, and the roads will close. But if you stand up inwardly and say with silent faith, I am prosperous, then opportunities, ideas, encounters, and invisible resources will begin to gravitate into your field. I am healthy, and your body will begin to translate this decree into cellular harmony. I am loved, and the universe will reflect this love in 1,000 unexpected ways. Your world is not random. It is mathematically precise. It doesn't respond to your words spoken only with your lips, but to the inner vibration that springs from your deepest I am. And so I say to you with all solemnity, observe your thoughts as creative decrees. There is no such thing as a neutral thought. There is no word without form. Every idea you accept as true, every thought you cultivate with emotion, every phrase you repeat internally, is shaping day after day the quality of your visible experience. The external world is your faithful servant, but it doesn't obey what you want it to. It obeys what you believe it to be. And so everything around you today is the fruit of an ancient I am, often unconscious but persistently felt. Nothing changes in the world until man changes inside. You can move 1,000 pieces on the chessboard of life. You can travel, move house, change jobs, rebuild friendships. But if you don't change your state of consciousness, everything will soon return to its previous pattern. Because the world outside is just a reflection of the image inside. That's why I now offer you the first practical instruction on this path. Watch your thoughts as if you were guarding the entrance to a sacred temple. For that is what they are. Every thought is a stone thrown into the lake of creation. Every idea accepted is a seed. Every sustained emotion is a prayer. And everything you think with feeling becomes creative decree. Today you are beginning to observe what used to go unnoticed. When you say, "I'm tired," you're not just describing a momentary state. You're enacting a pattern. When you say, "This never works out for me," you are shaping tomorrow. When you feel sorry for yourself, you are unwittingly signing a contract with the continuation of limitation. No more. Now you become masters of the inner word. You assume the kingship of thought. You cleanse the temple of the mind and say, "Nothing impure will dwell here. Nothing contrary to my new state will be accepted as truth." And so you begin to consciously choose your thoughts, like someone who chooses rare seeds for a sacred garden. Think like someone who already is. Speak inwardly as one who already possesses, and you will feel the world begin to bow before the new image of your I am. Watch yourselves not with fear, but with reverence. Do not blame yourselves for old thoughts, but free yourselves from them with gratitude, for they have brought you this far. And now the change begins. Engrave in your heart this eternal maxim: whatever I think to be true, with feeling takes form. Therefore be janitors of your inner garden, and if at any point you realize that an old thought has returned, don't despair. Just say, "No, that's no longer true for me. I'm different now." Live from your new I am, and the world will be able to do nothing but confirm it. The natural mind of man, conditioned by centuries of materialism and sensory illusion, believes that time separates man from his desires. It believes that there is a tomorrow where perhaps one day the dream will come true. They live as if what they long for is far away, inaccessible, waiting for something external to move so that it can finally become possible. But this vision is a prison, and the truth is liberating. What you want already exists. Yes, it already exists, but not in the visible world of the senses. It exists on the living, vibrant, and causal plane of four-dimensional reality. For there is more than one world. There is more than meets the eye. The world that your senses perceive is three-dimensional: space, form, matter. But the world where everything is generated, the world where your desires have dwelt since before they were named, is the four-dimensional world where time is not an obstacle, but an ordered sequence of states of consciousness. On this higher plane, everything is already complete. The healing you seek, the relationship you long for, the abundance you desire, the purpose you call for, they already exist in potential and invisible form, just waiting for your inner being to faithfully access them. It's not time that separates you from fulfillment. It is the state in which you dwell. For time, in its true nature, is not a linear flow, but a progression of assumed states. Each state of consciousness carries within it all the events, encounters, circumstances, and manifestations that are particular to it. When you change your inner state, you are not moving towards the future. You are changing lines, plans, and paths. You are accessing an existing world, and imagination then is your sacred vehicle. It is not fantasy. It is not empty invention. It is the creative instrument of the Most High within you. Through it, you walk between worlds. Through it, you enter houses you don't yet own. You feel the body you haven't yet healed. You experience the joy of a love that hasn't yet reached your eyes, but has already become real in your heart. And that's why I say to you, nothing is created at the moment of manifestation. Everything has already been created when it was felt to be true. Three-dimensional reality only reproduces what has already been conceived, accepted, lived on the four-dimensional plane. Your role then is to access the desired state with persistent and natural imagination. Persistent because the mind wavers and tends to return to the old. Natural because there's no point in forcing images if your heart doesn't rest on them as truth. You must imagine as one breathes, without tension, without effort, with trust, with surrender. Sit in silence and feel the desire already fulfilled. Not as something you are trying to achieve, but as something that is already yours, like a memory of the future. See with your inner eyes and feel the emotion of already having. You feel the new state as natural, familiar, inevitable. And then you stay there, not for a few seconds, not just for a brief ritual. I remained in the new state like someone moving into a new home. Walk around this invisible house, inhabit this new body, speak like someone who has already won. And the world, without knowing why, will begin to adjust to the new center of your being. This is how the four-dimensional man walks. He doesn't wait. He accesses it. He doesn't beg for the future. He assumes the end. And because he assumes, he sees. There is no real distance between you and what you desire. There is only an inner space that needs to be filled with faith. When you imagine with feeling, with naturalness, with gentle conviction, you begin to collapse time. Tomorrow becomes today. Possibility becomes certainty. Desire becomes being. And then, like someone waking up from an old dream, you look around and realize that what you once called impossible now lives with you. Not because the world has changed, but because you have changed the world. You have changed state, in dimension, reality. This is the mystery revealed to those who have eyes to see. Your external world is only the three-dimensional image of your four-dimensional posture. He who imagines with faith moves worlds, even if he is lying in a cell. He who feels as true what is not yet seen is already experiencing the substance of what will be seen. For imagination, when sustained with feeling, is the womb of creation. Engrave this silent mantra in your heart. What I desire already exists. I just change state to find it. And whenever the old world tries to convince you otherwise, close your eyes and return to your inner vision. Don't respond to the world with fear. Respond faithfully and say, "This is no longer my truth. I am already what I want to be." And by living this way, you will become one with what you have imagined. Because on the four-dimensional plane, being and seeing are the same thing. Supposition is the creative act par excellence. It is silent, invisible, intimate, but powerful, decisive, irrevocable. Because everything you assume to be true inside you inevitably becomes visible outside. Not with the passage of time, but with the change of state. The world doesn't wait for months of effort. The world tilts as soon as your being takes on a new assumption as a fait accompli. Yes, it's immediate, and the external world, although it seems solid and fixed, is only a receptive, obedient, passive field before the active force of your I am. And this I am is expressed through supposition. You overcome absence by assuming presence. You overcome limitation by assuming freedom. You overcome emptiness by assuming fullness. Nothing happens on the outside until something is accepted as true within you. It doesn't matter if your desire seems big or small. It is not manifested by its size, but by the degree of acceptance within. Acceptance is creation. Acceptance is not intellectual agreement. Acceptance is feeling real. Acceptance is experiencing the emotion of possession before visible possession. Acceptance is resting in the desired state, like someone resting on the lap of the Most High, knowing that everything is finished. And here lies the secret that transforms destinies. You don't need time, you need fidelity. Time only reveals how firm your assumption was. And it's not time that accomplishes, it's the assumption that sustains the state where everything already is. The 7 days I am proposing are not there to convince the universe. They are not 7 days of supplication, nor 7 days of struggle against the world. They are 7 days to reinforce your new assumption with reverence and constancy. 7 days of emotional fidelity is 7 days of dwelling in the new self. 7 days in which every thought, every inner word, every reaction is aligned with the new image of who you already are. For the power of supposition is immediate, but the mind, accustomed to the old world, tries to return to the familiar shadows. And so repetition is sacred. Not to create, but to maintain. Not to convince, but to remain. Because staying with the correct assumption is what seals the new world. You don't have to force reality. Reality is molded smoothly, like clay in the hands of a spiritual potter. The only effort you have to make is to remain. Remain in the feeling of desire fulfilled. Stay in the vision of the end. Stay in the certainty that you are already what you asked for. See the world as the reflection it is, and not as the author of your experience. The reflection always follows. Form always follows feeling. Appearance always responds to assumption. When you say internally with gentle conviction, "I am successful," the world immediately begins to reorganize itself to reflect this new structure. The people you meet, the doors that open, the ideas that emerge, everything begins to align with the new assumption. But if, the next day, you go back to thinking, "Nothing has changed, it hasn't happened yet," you are revoking your decree and restoring the old image. That's why the 7 days are sacred. They are not days of observing the world, but of fixing the new state. They are not days of analysis, but of surrender. Each of these 7 days is an altar on which you place your faith. There is no more powerful effort than to remain at the end. And what is the end? It's the state where your desire has already been fulfilled. It's the place where you feel full. It's the inner feeling of mission accomplished, even if nothing has yet changed around you. This assumption needs to be as natural as breathing. It needs to become your new inner tone, your new emotional climate. And with each repetition, with each conscious return to the desired image, your vibrational field firms up and manifestation becomes inevitable. Nothing can resist an assumption sustained with faith, not the past, not the environment, nor others. Everything bows before the silent decree of the one who says, "I am what I have desired." Live as one who has received, sit as one who has already achieved, breathe like one who already is. And if at any time you falter, do not fear. Return to the feeling of the end, 7 times 7, as many as it takes, until the new state becomes your home. And so the visible world will become only the inevitable celebration of your invisible fidelity. Engrave it in your heart. What I assume to be true becomes the world I inhabit. My assumption is my decree. My permanence is my creation. And then everything on your path will align with what you have dared to assume as real. Wake up, you who sleep, and recognize clearly. The so-called waking reality is no more real than the dreams you have at night. The difference between what you call waking and what you call dreaming is just this: consistency of attention and emotional conviction. For what is a dream if not a whole world created in seconds, governed not by physical laws but by internal laws, shaped not by logic but by feeling? And what is wakefulness if not an extension of that same creative power, sustained with more regularity, with more silent faith, with more unconscious focus? Everything you are experiencing now, at this very moment, is your most insistent dream. It is your mental state taken form. It is your silent conviction revealing itself in matter. The body you inhabit, the house you live in, the people around you, the challenges you face, they are all characters and scenarios of your dominant dream. In the night dream, there is no effort. Just imagine that you are flying and you fly. All you have to do is feel afraid, and the monster appears. Just wish for something with intensity, and the environment bends to your emotion. In the waking world, the mechanics are the same, only slower, more dense, more camouflaged by habit, but it's the same stage, the same source, the same creative mind, and that mind is you. You are the dreamer. and sometimes you confuse yourself with the dream. In the 7 days of transformation, you must not live as someone who observes reality, but as someone who consciously dreams it. You must become the lucid dreamer of your world, a dreamer who knows they are dreaming, a dreamer who knows that his assumption is law, a dreamer who masters the plot because he has understood that the scenery is a projection of his own inner state. While in a night dream, you're not surprised that things change instantly. In wakefulness, you're amazed at how slowly things manifest. But that's just a reflection of how attached you are to the idea that the world is fixed, solid, independent of you. Undo that veil. Tear away that lie. The world is an image shaped by your hidden self. It is as plastic as your dreams. And the time it takes to change is only the time it takes you to accept change as possible. During the 7 days, you must act like someone who is dreaming with conviction, not like someone who doubts, not like someone who is waiting for the world to confirm it, but as someone who knows that the dominant feeling takes precedence over appearance. In the dream, you move without limits. So move like that in your imagination too. In the dream, you don't say, "That's impossible." Then, during the 7 days, you banish that phrase from your soul. In a dream, emotion is the brush that paints the scene. So too in wakefulness, sustained emotion is what draws your destiny. The external world is just a dream of flesh. It is your inner state in a state of rest, made into a moving scenery. Change the state and the dream changes. Take on the new you and the script is rewritten. That's why I urge you. During these 7 days, live in a state of lucid dreaming. Don't surrender to the evidence of the old world. They are just materialized memories of past thoughts. You are not here to repeat, you are here to create. And as conscious dreamers, be vigilant with what you feel, with what you accept, with what you call real. For what you call real is only what you have held to be true for long enough. Nothing else. And if you want to change the world, don't try to change it by force. Change the dreamer. Change the assumption. Change the emotional tone. Change the internal plot. And you will see the dream, little by little, become something else. Engrave this truth in your waking heart. The world is my most persistent dream. I am not the effect, I am the dreamer. And now I dream with fidelity, with power, with intention. 7 days of living as one who already is. 7 days of dreaming as one who already sees. 7 days of assuming the new self, with the serenity of someone who knows that reality, like a good dream, bends before the dominant emotion. And then you will see the impossible will give way. Because the world, this world you call real, is nothing more than your imagination made into a habit. And the habit you are now choosing is the habit of the miracle, of being, of the assumed end, of the dream that knows itself to be true. Today is the first day, the first step towards the invisible form of your new world. The beginning not of an external journey, but of the most sacred of all crossings, the crossing from one state of consciousness to another. And may this be engraved in your soul as an eternal truth. The world you experience will never change until you change the state you inhabit. Everything begins with an internal gesture. Everything moves with a silent acceptance. Everything is transformed when you become other in essence. Today, on the first of 7 days, you are asked to do just one thing, to assume the new state as natural. Not as something distant, not as a fantasy, but as your new emotional home. An inner place where you dwell peacefully, an inner being that you wear like a familiar robe. The great illusion is to believe that the new needs to be conquered. But the truth is that the new only needs to be assumed. And the only way to truly assume something is to become intimate with it. Make the new me something comfortable as something constant. Something that doesn't need to be tasted, just lived. Because it's not about forcing a belief. It's about resting in an identity. It's about feeling that your wish has already been granted and that now all you have to do is live with the scent of fulfillment. Just like an actor who puts on the character and moves within it naturally, you put on your new self today, and you will never take it off again. On this first day, don't worry about seeing signs. Don't worry about proofs. All you have to do is enter the new state and remain in it with gentleness, like someone who has arrived home after a long journey and is resting in the silence of a new home. Allow yourself to feel as if you already had what you used to call desire, as if you were already what you once seemed to seek, as if the work were already done, because in truth, it already is. Visible time will only reproduce what is sustained now with conviction and constancy. You don't need to run. You don't need to desperately repeat phrases. You just need to sit inwardly on the throne of the new identity and call it I. You just need to feel that the new you already belongs to you. Just look at the world through the eyes of the one who already is. Say with sacred simplicity, I am that. This belongs to me. This is my place. And allow your body, emotions, and thoughts to align with the new tone. If the mind tries to convince you that you are only imagining, respond with tenderness. Yes, I am imagining, and to imagine is to create. For your job is not to convince the senses, but to persist in the new state until the senses can no longer resist. Today, walk with a new inner posture. Even if you don't say anything out loud, keep the feeling of already being alive. Be faithful to the new being even in the simplest tasks. If you go to the market, go like someone who is already prosperous. If you speak to someone, speak like someone who is already loved. If you look in the mirror, see there not the old reflection, but the face of your new I am. The new state needs to be breathed in, touched in silence, held without haste, welcomed with tenderness, as if it were an old friend returning to your soul. And whenever you feel the old state trying to emerge, as it will, because it's used to the throne, don't fight it. Just gently return to the new state. Don't argue with the old one. Just ignore it with reverence and reaffirm, this is no longer mine, I am another now. Today is the day of the birth of the new being, and every birth begins with a sacred environment, the womb of your feeling. Stay there, wrapped in the new identity, with sweet firmness, with calm faith, with the spirit of one who has already received. There is no greater effort than naturally being who you have chosen to be. And at the same time, there is no greater freedom. For when the new self becomes comfortable, it becomes real. And everything in the external world begins to gravitate around this new center of identity. Engrave it in your heart. The new state is mine. I accept it as natural. I make it constant. I am it. And so the transformation begins, not with lightning, not with fanfare, but with the majestic silence of a well-established assumption, with the firm whisper of a heart that has decided to inhabit the miracle and to call that miracle home. True faith is not a desperate cry or continuous supplication. Faith is inner silence. Faith is certainty without evidence. Faith is remaining in the invisible as if it were already visible. From days 2 to 7, you are being called to live this faith, not as a theory, but as a daily incarnation. You are being invited to sustain the flame of the new state, even when everything around you insists on showing you the old world. And I tell you clearly, this is the most sacred and powerful moment of creation. It is when the soul remains in the invisible, even when surrounded by the opposite, that the impossible begins to bend. Most people fail because they abandon the new state in the face of the absence of signs. They return to the old self because the senses haven't confirmed the change. But that's like planting a seed and the next day digging up the earth in doubt, saying, where is it? Why hasn't it sprouted yet? Faith doesn't dig, faith waters. Faith waits serenely. Faith knows that the invisible has already responded, that the decree has been heard on high, that the universe has already begun to move its silent gears. Faith is living as if it already is, because on the four-dimensional plane, it already is. I'll give you a simple but absolute example. When you go into a restaurant and order from the menu, you don't repeat your order to the waiter 20 times. You don't chase him to the kitchen. You don't despair at the delay between the order and the arrival of the dish. You simply order and wait. You assume it's coming. And your body relaxes, your heart quiets down, your mind turns to other things, because the order has already been placed and accepted. So it is with conscious creation. Your request was made when you assumed the new state to be real. And your only task from days 2 to 7 is to persist in it faithfully. Persist without seeing. Persist without hearing. Persist without feeling, even if the world reflects nothing. For faith does not require proof in order to exist. It is the invisible proof of what is not yet seen. True faith is like a silent pregnancy. The mother doesn't question every day whether her child is still there. She doesn't demand ultrasounds every morning as she feels it. She knows. She waits, nourished by certainty, and the body, with divine wisdom, does its part. So it is with you too. You assume the new state, and your inner world begins to reconfigure the outer one, even if your eyes still see the old scenery. During these days, your constancy will be tested, and don't let that frighten you. For every apparent resistance is just an opportunity to reaffirm who you are now. Every absence of signs is a chance to prove that you don't need proof. Your state is the sign. Your feeling is the testimony. Your peace is the seal. Don't pray as one who begs, pray as one who gives thanks. Say, I thank you, Father, for you have heard me. This is the prayer of faith, and it doesn't ask, it affirms, it does not doubt. Rest. Every time an old thought tries to arise, don't fight it. Just return to the new me with gentleness, with silent authority, and say, that no longer represents me, I am another now. I already am. If your senses tell you otherwise, don't argue with them. You have overcome them. They are still stuck in time. But you inhabit the eternal. You are already living in the end, and it is from the end that the beginning is born. Persisting without trials is the greatest act of spiritual power. For it means that you have finally stopped trusting in appearance and started trusting in the cause. The cause is your state, and the state sustained with faith becomes form. There is no hurry. There is no despair. There is fidelity. There is constancy. There is a glorious rest in knowing it is done. Remember, the world is slow to react, but sure to obey. Everything you hold firmly will be seen. Everything you take on with feeling will be lived, and today's faithfulness is tomorrow's miracle. Commit these words to your heart. Faith is living as if it already is. Faith is to remain in the invisible until the visible gives way. Faith is the inner rest of those who already possess it. From days 2 to 7, do nothing more than that. Sustain, persist, live the new self as natural, and everything around you will sooner or later bend. I am is the name of God in you. Not just any name, but the holy, eternal name, the name that precedes all creation. Before there was light, there was I am. Before any form came into being, before the world existed, before matter was clothed in flesh, God declared himself, I am that I am. And this sacred name was given to you, not so that you would use it in vain, but so that through it you could participate in creation itself. Everything you say after I am, with feeling and conviction, becomes creative decree. Everything, absolutely everything. During the 7 sacred days of transformation, the conscious and deliberate use of I am becomes your scepter of power. There is no simpler tool. There is no more direct instrument. Your word is the rod that opens seas, removes mountains, and creates worlds. For when you say I am, you are setting in motion the power that shapes realities. You are igniting the creative fire within you. You are signing your destiny. That's why I urge you, don't allow I am to be united with anything inferior. Never declare in your heart, I am incapable, I am lost, I am sick, I am insufficient. For by doing so, even if it's in a venting tone, you are asking the universe to make these words flesh. You are invoking the power of the I am to clothe yourself in limitation. But you have been called to something greater. You were called to create like the Creator. And the Creator never declares what he does not wish to see exist. So in these 7 days, let each morning begin with a sacred decree. I am success. I am love. I am abundance. I am healing. I am the peace that transforms everything around me. And let these words not be said mechanically, but with reverence, with deep breathing, with real feeling. And it doesn't matter if the outside world hasn't confirmed it yet. It matters that your inner being has already taken over. And once it has, the world will bow, because it always does. Make I am a living practice. Repeat it throughout the day. Not as a magic formula, but as a constant reminder of your spiritual identity. Not just with your lips, but with your heart. Feeling what it would be like to live already being what you declare. You don't say, I will be. I will be belongs to time, and time is the illusion of separation. I will be postpones. I am creates. And when doubt arises, for it will come, look inwards and reaffirm with loving firmness, I am. Not because you see, but because you know. Because you have chosen. Because you feel it. Each I am pronounced with awareness is a brick in the temple of your new world. It is a vibrational code sent to the field of life, which responds with absolute fidelity. You cannot declare with faith and not reap. You cannot sustain the true I am and not manifest it. Remember that the world is nothing more than a late reflection of your dominant I am. If throughout the days you keep your consciousness focused on the new identity, the universe will begin to echo it with divine precision. People will sense something different about you. Doors will open in sync. Opportunities will seek you out. Not out of effort, but because your new I am has begun to vibrate more strongly than any remnant of the old self. Make it a ritual. When you wake up, before you touch the ground, take a deep breath and say, I am, and complete it with what you want to be. Throughout the day, when something goes against you, instead of reacting, close your eyes for a moment and say, I am peace. I am response. I am master of my state. And when you go to bed, make your last thought before sleep an act of creation. I am the end already lived. I am what I have chosen to be. Constant repetition, imbued with emotion, is the hallmark of creation, because everything that is repeated with feeling is fixed as reality, and everything that is fixed within you becomes form outside of you. Keep it as a sacred mantra. My I am is my brush. My I am is my scepter. My I am is the beginning of every new reality. And so, word by word, affirmation by affirmation, you will be redrawing your destiny with the ink of awakened consciousness. Everything begins with I am, and everything over time will become what you dared to declare. The law of assumption is not an abstract concept, nor is it a formula to be memorized with the intellect. It is the very art of becoming. It is the silent, sacred, and transformative act of assuming as true now the state that was once only desire. Assumption is not mechanical repetition. Assumption is incarnation. It's when desire stops being what I want to have and becomes what I am. And so when you apply the law of assumption intensively, as you are doing during these 7 days, you must understand that the focus is not on saying it, but on feeling it as real. Not on memorizing phrases, but on living the emotion corresponding to the new being, not waiting for signs, but behaving like someone who already has them. True assumption requires total involvement. Not just in the mind, but in the body. Not just in words, but in gestures, and not just in visualization, but in the way you move, speak, react, and choose. If you assume the identity of the prosperous, then you walk with the lightness of one who trusts. You speak with generosity, you think with confidence, and you act like someone who already has, even if your pocket doesn't reflect it yet. For you are establishing the seed, which, if sustained, will become a harvest. If you assume the state of being loved, then you don't beg for love. You are not dragging your feet in search of attention. You already are. Your gaze is serene. Your words are soft. Your whole body vibrates as one who knows, I am worthy of love because I am love. This is the key point. Assumption is not striving to obtain. It's surrender to what already is. It's ceasing to resist. It's saying, I no longer need to ask because now I am. It's entering the end and remaining there naturally. On days 2 to 7, the commitment is not to blind repetition, but to the continuous emotional experience of the new state. The world will still show you traces of the old, and when it does, this will be your training ground. There at that moment, you must not struggle with appearance, but reaffirm your assumed identity. You don't react like the old you. You choose as the new you, and each conscious choice solidifies your new world. Watch your gestures, your voice, your breathing. Everything must reflect coherence with your chosen state. How does the one who already is act? How does the healed respond? How does the prosperous walk? How does the beloved behave? How does the fulfilled smile? And then be that character, not as a pretense, but as an assumed truth. Because the character you represent with faith becomes the being you live with reality. The intensive assumption doesn't require you to convince others. It only requires you to convince yourself. And conviction does not come from effort, but from continuous practice. From the daily return to the new feeling, from the loving vigilance that says, it doesn't matter what the world shows, I have chosen the end, and the end is who I am. This new state should dress you like a second skin. It must be more familiar than the old one, more present than the signs, more constant than the moods. Because what comes naturally to you will be what the world will mirror. The assumption is not a technique, it is a new birth. It's not something you do, it's something you become. And just as a tree doesn't force itself to grow, but only remains true to its nature, you don't need to fight either. You need to be. Persisting in being is what transforms. And if the world seems to challenge your new identity, smile wistfully. For the challenge is not an obstacle, it's polishing. It is the opportunity to reinforce with even deeper emotion, I am what I have chosen to be. This is my state, this is my truth, this is my world. And then everything around you will obediently bend. Keep this maxim in your heart. It's not about repeating, it's about assuming. It's not about trying, it's about being. Everything about me reflects what I already am, and therefore everything in my world will be transformed. I assumed, feel, live it, and you will see the universe respond with the precision of a sacred mirror. Praying is not asking. Praying is not begging, convincing, or waiting for an external force to take pity on you. To pray is to assume. It's accepting as true now what the world still calls the future. It's resting in the feeling of the desired thing, as if it were already yours, as if it were already in your hands, as if time didn't exist and the end had already been accomplished. Most people pray like beggars before a distant king. They pray like those who confess their smallness, hoping that some deity will grant them permission to change. But the Christ in you never taught such a thing. He didn't say, ask without ceasing, and perhaps it will be given to you. He declared with divine authority, when you pray, believe that you have received, and it will be done for you. Not when you receive, but when you pray. Effective prayer is faith incarnate in the present. It is the emotion of possession before form. It is the breath of desire already fulfilled. I tell you, to pray is to feel. To pray is to live the state of the end. To pray is to stop asking and start thanking. For no one gives thanks for what they do not believe they have received. But he who believes, even if he doesn't see, already bows in gratitude, because he knows. During the 7 days and forever after, you must abandon the old prayer of supplication and adopt the prayer of assumption. No more prayers that say, Lord, if you want, help me. Grant it to me one day. But prayers that affirm with feeling. Thank you because you are already mine. I am what I asked for. I thank you, Father, for you have heard me. True prayer doesn't need many words. It needs emotional coherence. It needs a surrendered heart. It needs faith in the invisible as if it were visible. And so, prayer is not a moment, it's a state. To pray is to live like someone who's already been healed, and it's walking like someone who is already prosperous. It is to speak as one who is already loved. It's allowing your whole being to declare, I am. By doing this, your prayer becomes constant, not a repeated supplication, but a sustained vibration. And this vibration is the language that the universe understands. For God doesn't respond to words. He responds to states. And he who remains in the state of the thing desired sees the thing desired become form without effort, without delay, without noise. Prayer doesn't move God, it moves you. And by moving you into the right state, all of creation organizes itself around your new identity. If you want to know if your prayer has been heard, ask yourself, do I feel that I have already received? Do I act like someone who already has? Do I rest like someone who already lives at the end? If the answer is yes, then nothing more is needed. The world will only obey your certainty. Even if your senses tell you otherwise, even if everything around you seems the same, don't be shaken. The prayer has already been answered in the invisible, and the invisible is more real than the visible. For everything you see one day began as something you couldn't see, but already felt. Every prayer made with feeling is a seed, and the seed doesn't need to be replanted every day. It needs to be watered with gratitude. And the soil of faith always bears fruit. So right now, choose to pray with conviction. No longer as someone who begs, but as someone who already has. And say within yourself, I am the witness of God's grace. I am what I have desired. My prayer is my state, and my state is my reality. Engrave this eternal truth in your heart. To pray is to assume that you already are. To pray is to feel the end so naturally that the means no longer matter. To pray is to live as one who has already been answered, and so it is impossible not to receive. And so your whole life becomes a living prayer. Every gesture, a thank you. Every breath, a confirmation. Every moment, a creation. Because true prayer is not something you do, it is what you become. Your consciousness is the center of everything, and not just the center of your body, not just the center of your mind. It is the center of the universe you experience. What you call the world, your home, your routine, your relationships, your opportunities, your limitations or achievements, is not something outside of you, something alien to your being. It is a living extension of your consciousness. It is your inner state projected on a universal scale. The natural mind teaches you to see the world as something that happens to you. But the truth reveals to you, the world doesn't happen to you. It reflects you. Everything you see is within your field of identity. Everything you touch is included in how you define who you are. And so I say to you, what you are ready to receive depends on what you are willing to include in your consciousness as mine. True spiritual expansion begins when you stop seeing the desired world as something outside of you and start including it as a natural part of your being. You no longer say, one day I'll have that. You say, this is already part of me. This is my field. This is my expression. The expansion of consciousness is not a leap in time. It is a widening of being. It's when your I am stops being small, isolated, conditioned by old stories, and starts embracing a bigger, wider, more abundant world as something that belongs to it by divine right. Be like the sun, which does not separate its light from where it reaches. Everything it touches, it illuminates. And the light in touching includes. So too you. Touch in thought the world you desire, and it will become yours. Not as a conquest, but as an extension of your new identity. Say with spiritual courage, the life I desire already belongs to me because I see it within me. Everything I recognize as mine, the universe recognizes too. The ideal world is already present in my field of perception. And what is this field of perception? It's the sacred place where consciousness projects itself. It's the invisible territory where your assumptions become forms. It is the energetic environment where you live internally, and which, by law, the world reproduces externally. If you want a peaceful world, include that peace within you. Feel it not as something distant, but as the air you breathe. If you desire abundance, let it overflow in your words, your thoughts, and your gestures. Be generous now. Think like someone who already has. Don't wait for the manifestation. Be the manifestation. Expansion is not about expecting more. It's about accepting more. It's dissolving the separation between me and this. It's declaring, this is me too. And when you do this, you are breaking down the wall between desire and fulfillment. You are uniting being with having. You are transforming the ideal future into the possible present. Visualize your ideal world now, not as something external to be observed, but as an environment that already surrounds you, as a field that already responds to your vibration, as an internal landscape that is so clear and so felt that there is no denying it. It already is. And even if your eyes still see the old, you already know that it is only a delayed reflection. Because reality obeys the source, not the form, and the source is your consciousness. Live, therefore, as one who already lives in the world you desire. Take this new world as your spiritual address. Sit internally in that place. Breathe in its atmosphere. Inhabit it. Name it. This is my new world, and I am it, and it is mine. You don't need a fight to manifest. Inclusion is enough. Expansion is enough. All it takes is the firm decision to no longer keep the dream at a distance, but to bring it in. Because the world you want already exists, not outside of you, but on the forgotten shores of your consciousness. And when you touch it with faith, with emotion, with permanence, that shore becomes the center. That vision becomes the ground. That desire becomes the world. And engrave it in your heart. Everything I include in my consciousness, I make real. I am bigger than I thought, and the world I desire fits in me. By expanding my identity, I invite the impossible to become familiar. And so, the new world will not come to you. It will emerge from you, because your consciousness doesn't observe reality. It creates it. Transformation Week isn't just light, it's also trial. It's not just flight, it's also crossing over. Because by deciding to take on a new state of consciousness, you are not only creating a new world, you are disintegrating the old one. And the old does not dissolve without first resisting. During these 7 sacred days, you may feel doubts rising like clouds trying to cover up your new sun. You may hear old echoes trying to retake the throne of your mind. You may even perceive a strange worsening of circumstances, as if the world, in response to your new self, is trying to test you. But I tell you with spiritual authority, this is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of transition. It's the invisible movement of the seed that dies before it germinates. Yes, the seed dissolves before it breaks through the earth. It needs to lose its previous form in order to take on a new one. And it's the same with you. When you take on the new state, the old one begins to die. And it screams as it dies. It throws up doubts, memories, automatic reactions. But all this is noise. It's all an old cocoon before the wing that opens. Don't fall back. Don't get confused. Stay. This apparent worsening is the last breath of what no longer serves you. It's the walls of Jericho shaking before they fall. It's the old world trying to convince you that it's real. But you know better. But you already know what is real is what you take on faith, not what you see with your eyes. You may feel uncomfortable. You may wonder, am I doing the right thing? But even these doubts are proof that something new is brewing. For he who changes nothing does not doubt. Doubt is the shaking of the earth before the new foundation. And your job isn't to eliminate the tremor. It's to get through it. When the feeling of contradiction comes between what you have assumed and what you see, remember the senses are delayed. They react to the previous state. The world is a reflection of the past, but your current feeling is the brush that is redrawing tomorrow. Don't be guided by appearances. Be guided by the truth of your heart. If in the middle of the road everything seems silent or even chaotic, know this. That's part of the process. It's the field being plowed before receiving the fruit. It's the body adjusting to the new vibration. It's the universe rearranging the pieces to reflect your new I am. Persistence is proof of faith. Faith is permanence without confirmation. And confirmation will come. It always does. But it comes after fidelity. You don't need to do anything other than remain in the new state with gentleness, with firmness, with the serenity of someone who has seen the end from the inside, even when the middle has not yet changed on the outside. Say to yourself, when everything seems doubtful, this turmoil is the old form disintegrating. My reality has already changed. The rest is echo. I am the new, and so everything around me will be new too. Resistance is the ultimate test, and he who passes the test without flinching manifests. Because the world, like a canvas, resists the new brush until it insists. And when the new image is maintained, it imposes itself, it materializes, it wins. Engrave it with fire in your spirit. Every contradiction is just the past trying to survive. Doubt is not the end, it is the transition. The seed dies before it blossoms, and I am blossoming. And by standing firm, even with the shadows trying to return, you will see the new world emerge like dawn after the darkest night. Not because the world has changed on its own, but because you didn't back down when everything told you to. Be faithful, and be constant, and be firm. For what you are about to experience is the testimony of a conscience that has refused to give up. Humanity's great illusion is to believe that it must do in order to be. Do to deserve and do to conquer, doing to prove worth. But every true manifestation, every lasting creation, every miracle that has ever happened in the history of man has not sprung from effort, but from being. From being. Being is the cause, doing is the consequence. Having is a reflection. During your 7-day journey, it is essential that you understand this truth in total depth. You will not manifest the new self by acting like it. You manifest the new self by being it. For doing, when it springs from inner emptiness, becomes struggle, repetition, exhaustion. But when it springs from an assumed state, it flows with lightness, inspiration, and power. The world has taught you to chase after what you want, that you must work until you prove you are worthy. But the Spirit reveals you don't need to chase after what is already yours. You only need to assume that you already are. It's not the quantity of actions that moves the universe. It's the quality of being behind each action. 2 men can make the same gesture. One fails, the other transforms the world. Why is that? Because one acts like a doubter, and the other acts like someone who already is. Everything that is done from the right state carries power. And everything that is done to try to reach that state takes it away. You don't do it to become, you do it because you already are. Be like the artist who doesn't paint to be an artist. He paints because he is an artist. Paints because he is an artist. Be like the king who doesn't impose himself in order to be king. He acts with royalty because he knows who he is. The doing that flows from being is always creative, precise, and inspiring. It is never tiring. So, during these days, don't worry about what you have to do. Worry about who you are being, because the right thing to do will come of itself. The impulse will come. Intuition will guide. The right words will be spoken. The right decisions will be made, not by logic, but by resonance. Stop looking for actions to prove to the world that you have changed. Allow your new state to speak for itself, and the world will listen. It feels. It responds. Be the new you when you awaken. Be the new you by speaking. Be the new being when you walk. And the right thing to do will be perfectly aligned. Say no more. What must I do to become that? Say, I already am, and so I naturally do what that being would do. That's the key, to act not out of effort, but out of identity. And even when no action is required, the being in you will continue to create. Because consciousness creates with presence, with vibration, with internal posture, and not just with outward movement. Know this, being is silent but irresistible. It shapes everything around it, even when it is still. It attracts, influences, orders, even when nothing seems to happen. Your new world will not come because you act more. It will come because you have become someone for whom that world is already natural. And then, any action that arises will only be a reflection of an awakened being. It won't be a struggle, it will be an expression, it won't be a search. It will be a manifestation. Engrave in your spirit this eternal maxim. You don't act in order to be. You act because you already are, and the world responds to being, not to doing. Assume. Be. And let your doing flow as the fruit of an already established self, for the tree does not strive to bear fruit. It just remains what it is, and the fruit comes. Rise up in spirit, you who seek transformation. and proclaim with a firm voice, with an awakened heart, with an enkindled soul, I am the power. Not an external force, not a passive channel, not a small fragment trying to please the heavens, but the very creative center of your reality. For the time has come to recognize, not just with your lips, but with your whole being, that everything you experience, everything that surrounds you, everything you see, has been shaped by your own consciousness. I am the power is not a motivational phrase. It's an ontological statement. It's a return to the source. It's the moment when you stop living as an effect and stand up as a cause. No more blaming the world. No more waiting for a sign. No more begging for change. But taking over the invisible throne of inner creation. During these 7 days of spiritual rebirth, you are given a scepter. And that scepter is called the authority of being. The authority to declare with conviction, I am the power. Because everything moves from what you are in essence. The world only reflects, the world only responds. To affirm I am the power is to dissolve centuries of conditioning. It is to erase from your soul the idea that you are small, fragile, dependent. It means cutting the invisible thread that used to bind you to the illusion of powerlessness. For powerlessness is a state, not a truth. And you can leave it now, this instant, with a single internal decision. Assume that power is not out there. It is where it has always been. In you, as you. It is you. By declaring daily, with emotion, with firmness, with faith, I am the power, you are saying to your subconscious, change begins in me. Healing begins with me. Abundance, love, joy, direction, it all starts with me. And the subconscious, which is the fertile soil of creation, listens and records and responds. Your reality is a mirror of the identity you silently carry. And the statement, I am the power, reconfigures this identity from the ground up. It is a gesture of inner alchemy. It transmutes the old me who feared and hoped into the new me who declares and sees. Say with reverence, I am the power that moves the life I live. I am the cause of everything I perceive. I am the living word that becomes flesh. And watch with eyes of wisdom as the world begins to treat you differently. Not because the world has changed, but because your vibration has changed, your posture has changed, your state has changed. The universe responds to your identity, not your appearance. It responds to what you feel to be true about yourself. And when you feel, with all your being, that you are the power, the world bows lovingly to the new order you emanate. This power is not arrogance. It is not domination. It is spiritual authority. It is the reminder that you are co-creators with God, that you were made in His image. And that just as He created with the word dash, you also create with the I am. So make this decree a daily ritual. When you wake up, before you even open your eyes, think and feel, I am the power. As you walk, as you decide, as you shut up, as you imagine, keep this vibration as the constant background of your soul. I am the power. And at bedtime, when the body rests and the mind falls asleep, plant this seed again. I am the power, and the world is my extension. Engrave this truth in your waking heart. When I recognize that I am the power, I stop asking and start creating. My reality is the echo of what I have assumed to be me. And because I am the power, I am also the bridge, the way, and the end. Say it. I felt it, I assumed. And the world will obey. Manifestation is not creation, it is revelation. You don't create from nothing. You don't bring into being something that doesn't exist. You reveal what already is, what has already been accepted, what is already present on the invisible plane of consciousness. This is one of the most profound and liberating truths of the spiritual path. Nothing needs to be done for the miracle to exist. It already exists. You just bring it forth by accepting it as real. The conditioned mind believes that everything must be conquered, built, obtained with effort. But the awakened soul knows everything has already been created in the eternal. Everything has already been completed in the divine plan. Your task is simply to reveal it. And how do you reveal it? By assuming the state, by maintaining the feeling, by persisting in the conviction, because spiritual practice, persistent imagination, heartfelt prayer, I am declared with faith, are not creating a new reality, but unveiling what already exists as truth in your innermost being. You are not snatching something out of the hands of the universe. You are removing the veil of doubt, denial, separation, and letting what is yours manifest. Imagine the sun covered by clouds. The heat wasn't created when the clouds moved away. It was revealed. It was revealed. It was always there. The cloud was just a veil. So is manifestation. The visible world is a stage where the invisible lets itself be seen. And the invisible, your true field of power, already contains everything. It already contains love. It already contains healing. It already contains abundance. It already contains your new self. Consciousness is the eternal storehouse. Time only delivers what has already been received internally. Therefore, your practice is not an effort to achieve. It is a preparation to reveal, a permanence, a widening of vision, a deep acceptance of what already is. When you sit in silence and imagine your desire fulfilled, you are not playing with fantasies. You are tuning into a plane where it is already a fact. And when you maintain this state with constancy, feeling, and faith, the veil is torn, and what was hidden becomes visible. To manifest is to make visible what the consciousness already possesses. Nothing more, nothing less. Life doesn't give you what you want. It shows you what you are. And what you are is what you have already accepted as yours. So during the 7 days, don't worry about creating anything. Creation is eternal. It has already been made. It is already finished. Rather, live like the one who reveals, as the one who removes the curtain, as the one who removes the layer of doubt and lets the light shine through. Don't force it, don't fret. The practice is simple. Assume, feel it, sustain, and rest. Rest is the test of faith, for he who knows that he already is awaits the unveiling with serenity. If you can't see it yet, it's not because it hasn't been created. It's because the old state still obscures the vision. But fidelity to the new state tears that veil. And then, like someone who finds something ready-made, you will exclaim, "Of course, that's always been here." And yes, it always was. It was in consciousness. It was in the invisible. It was in the four-dimensional field, just waiting for you to become like it in identity. For manifestation is attracted not by seeking, but by similarity. And that which is equal to your consciousness will inevitably reveal itself. Engrave these words in your spirit. I do not create the miracle. I reveal it. Everything I see outside is what I have accepted inside. Nothing is coming to me. Everything is already in me. And so you stop fighting. You stop running. You stop asking. And you begin to reveal with every thought, with every emotion, with every conscious breath, the glorious world that already belongs to you on the plane of being. Taking on the new state is not an experiment. It is a vow. It is a sacred pact with the truth of who you already are. Now that you have understood the eternal principle that reality arises from consciousness and not from action, the time has come for your total surrender. No more playing with the idea. No more testing the law like someone who puts on one foot and keeps the other. Instead, dive wholeheartedly into the new state like someone who will never return. Live the next 7 days as if what you desire were already a fait accompli. Not as a test, not as a hypothesis, but as a testimony. Don't try to see if it works. Prove with your life that it does. For it is not the law that needs to be tested. It is your faithfulness that needs to be sealed. Everything, absolutely everything, begins the instant you decide to change your state of consciousness. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, not when you feel ready, but now. Right here, right now, because there is no transformation without decision, and there is no true decision without emotional commitment. Are you ready? Then live these 7 days as someone who is already inside the miracle, as someone who is already what they once dreamed of being, as someone who doesn't ask for more, just gives thanks. Each morning when you wake up, get into the role, put on your new identity. Make the new you your home. Sit internally on the throne of the I am. Don't expect to feel constant enthusiasm. Constancy will come from decision. Excitement will accompany fidelity. For you will not always feel greatness, but you can always choose to remain. Say with solemnity, for these 7 days, I will live as one who already is. During these 7 days, I will not ask, I will assume. During these 7 days, I will not observe the world in order to react to it. I will create the world from what I am. May your words, your gestures, your posture, your silence, and your imagination all be aligned with the new being. If doubt arises, reaffirm it. If the old pattern emerges, ignore it with gentleness. If the world seems to contradict you, remember, it is only a reflection of what has gone before. And you're already moving into the new. 7 days, 7 steps, 7 pulses of the soul, 7 decisions faithfully repeated until manifestation can no longer be prevented. Change is not in the future. It begins with your decision to live the end now. And I assure you, that decision is enough seed to move the universe. Don't be distracted by appearances. Don't get tired of repeating yourself. Don't fall into the trap of assessing the harvest ahead of time. Just live intensely, non-negotiably, as if it were already true. For such is the path of the awakened man. He doesn't wait to see. He sees in order to live. And at the end of these 7 days, if you have been faithful to the new state, there will be no doubt, no emptiness, no resistance that could prevent the revelation of your new world, because everything bows before the man who has decided to be. Everything reorganizes itself before the consciousness that has chosen to inhabit the end. Everything moves to serve the one who no longer asks, but declares, I am. So now, with reverence and power, make this vow. I commit myself to my new state for 7 days, and because I am faithful, I will see the form reveal itself. And because I already am, everything already belongs to me. And let this be the week where the invisible bows to your conviction, where the dream becomes identity, and identity reality. And now we have reached the threshold of the decision that separates the ordinary man from the awakened man. It's not about theory. It's not about accumulated information. It's about a silent, non-transferable, non-negotiable choice. To remain as before, or to finally assume your true state. For you are, and always have been, the power. Even when you doubted, even when you fall, make mistakes, procrastinate, even when you cried out for change, for healing, for liberation. The power was already in you, waiting for you to recognize it as your own. Nothing, absolutely nothing, was out of reach. Only beyond your acceptance. And now the veil has fallen. Now you see with eyes of fire. The world does not shape you. It reflects you. Time does not command you. It serves you. Reality doesn't challenge you. It responds to you. Everything you sought outside, security, love, direction, abundance, was first born as an internal absence. And it can be born again as presence if it is taken on with faith and constancy. There is nothing more to learn. You have been taught. There is nothing more to prove. Authority has been restored to you. Now it's a decision. Now it is act. Now it is being. And no more waiting for the world to change. Assume that it has already changed. Because you have changed. Because your consciousness has changed. Because your I am has been elevated to the throne. And the world has already begun to reorder itself around the new king. From now on, your words will not be attempts. They will be commands. Your thoughts will not be doubts. They will be seeds. Your emotions will not be reactions. They will be molds. And your silence, more powerful than 1,000 speeches, will carry the invisible weight of who you already are. Be like the author who has already written the ending, and now just walks through the pages with gratitude. Be like the artist who has already seen the finished work, and just fills the canvas, line after line, color after color. Be like the divine being who already possesses, and therefore acts with peace. Don't worry about fighting appearance anymore. It is dying. It's an echo. It is shadow. The new has already been decreed. The new has already been assumed. The new already belongs to you. So live as one who remembers. Live as one who has returned to the center. Live as one who has rediscovered the flame and called it by name. And that name is I am the power. Say it when you wake up. Say it when you hesitate. Say it when you are tempted to retreat. Say it when the world doesn't yet mirror the new, and even more so when it starts to bend. I am the power. I am the creator. I am the cause. I am the beginning and the end of my world. And so, firm, loving, awake, you will march like someone who is already in destiny, because you already are. Because you already are. For you are not trying to change the world. You are assuming that it has already changed. Because you have changed, because you have chosen. Because you are the power. And this is the beginning of everything, and not the end of the journey, but the first day of a new universe.